We used to be the couple that said, we don't really argue.
We don't argue.
And for us, it was like a sign of being healthy. But we've realized now that saying we don't really argue would be a complete lie to say.
Yep, I'm about to get real passionate here, get on my soapbox.
Whoa.
So stay tuned.
Here we go.
I've seen tons of people give advice on how to have a conflict-free marriage or how to have no problems in your marriage. Here's the deal.
Yeah.
I recently saw a study talked about healthy relationships are 5 interactions to 1 negative, 11 positive interactions to 1 negative interaction. That's an unhealthy relationship. Why? Because every relationship should have a good amount of negative interactions in it. Why? If you're always having positive interactions or way more positive interactions than even a little bit of negative, that means that someone in your marriage, whether it be the wife, the husband, the boyfriend, the girlfriend, is definitely not standing up for their own opinions, standing up for their own beliefs, and submitting to the other person.
Come on.
This has totally happened in our relationship where I was getting my way so often and we had so many positive interactions, but in reality, there's a lot of issues with our relationship.
It was crumbling underneath
Crumbling
the surface,
underneath.
literally. With that said, I guess we should move on to talking about our own arguments, even though that's the last thing that I really want to talk about, but let's freaking do it. We have 2 arguments we want to talk about. The first one is called lifestyle arguments. For 23 years, I've built my own opinions, my own ways of thinking, my own ways of doing things, and I've built this tower per se. I've had to rethink my dreams, my everything, family, you name it, and it's now joined with a whole nother person. And so I have to literally go to level 1 in my own building and just rebuild it with Jake.
With my life being completely rebuilt from the ground level up, there's a lot of things that are colliding together as we're building together. As she was like, no, I built floor 2 like this. Why are you building it like that?
Yes,
for example,
so good.
me, I wanted 5 kids. How many kids did you want?
2 to 3.
So that's why we're having 6 kids. Just kidding.
10.
Yikes, yeah. 10,
We're
12 kids.
We're literally taking it 1 kid at a time. That's what we've agreed.
Yes, that's
and that
true.
is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also had different views on money. I thought you'd save like 99% of it. How much do you think you would have saved?
30.
Yeah, I have no idea. Or another thing that we have talked about is subconsciously, I thought we'd have sex every single day. And what'd you think?
Even though I wanted it a lot, I didn't think we'd have it every day.
Right. So we had these own subconscious thoughts, literally, like for us, probably when we were 4 or 5, when we were watching that movie, or we were watching that thing, or our mom and dad told us something, and we're building these towers, now we have to tear them all down and create it again. I talk about this in the way of you're putting 2 worlds together. In reality, you're putting these 2 worlds together, but you're building a whole new world at the exact same time. A whole new world, yes. This whole new world is completely different than the 2 worlds before it, and that's tiring.
Yeah,
I call
exhausting.
that the 10% rule, which I talked about in our other video, How is Newlywed Life Really? And in that video, which is going to be
somewhere
up above somewhere, I think, we talked about how we're 10% more tired than we were before we got married, because it's exhausting creating a whole different frickin' world, or building the tower 1 step at a time together.
1 step at a time. The second type of argument is called masked arguments. Oftentimes we ask ourselves, or need to ask ourselves, what are we masking in this argument? What needs to be named? What's happening underneath the surface?
Yeah, because what we're arguing about is usually not what we're arguing about. That's what masked arguments are.
Yeah. On our walk today, we were arguing about cutting our walk short. And I didn't want to cut our walk short because I was tired, but because I was realizing that Jake wasn't really hearing me. He was ignoring my opinions. Jake and I have to continually work through masking. It's not easy at all.
Yeah, like obviously I didn't realize it, and Kaylee probably didn't realize it either, but then we masked it by arguing about cutting the short walk. But how many arguments are like that? We're not actually arguing about cutting the walk short. We're just combative because there was a paper cut, which is what we call like a small a small thing that I did or that she did that actually makes us mad, which also in our video, How's Newlywed Life Really, we talk about paper cuts.
We've noticed that what we're arguing about is really not what we're arguing about when it comes down to it. We're not arguing or fighting about what I'm making for dinner, what he's making for dinner. We're actually arguing about why there's still dishes in the sink. We weren't fighting about how Jake's chewing is super loud at the table.
not that
We're
loud.
actually fighting about how he was multitasking while I was trying to vent to him earlier.
Maybe I do chew loud.
He does chew very loud.
We believe with these two types of arguments that specifically lifestyle arguments should happen regularly. You should be standing up for your own opinions, standing up for your own world, your own beliefs, and not let it be completely sucked into the other person's beliefs and worldviews. Because you don't want to create the Jake world or the Kaylee world. We want to create the Jalea world,
Yes.
the Vaydas world, the YouTube, the Vaydas.
Oh, you like doing them.
Okay. Yep.
Yes. Are you done?
Yeah.
And I was going to say, the masks arguments, when we talked about that, it's like how to redirect that to the actual issue. Not just what's on the surface, but what's actually happening underneath the surface and dealing with that.
So good. Redirection. Lastly, if you want to see more of these types of amazing, spectacular videos with my beautiful, attractive BB.
Whoa,
over
thanks.
here, you can see the video that we just talked about, which is, what is it? How is Newlywed Life Really? Yes,
Really?
that one. That's a crazy one.
Yeah.
And then this is one that YouTube recommends that I think I would recommend as well to you.
I'm literally going to fall asleep. This is going to be
Okay, bye guys.